could never remember the red dreams and visions, not even pieces. I only knew that they came as warnings. A light rain pounded the pavement, bouncing off the side of the Shell gas station building. Forest was for clear skies, but a storm front had moved in and refused to budge. Neon from the gas station sign bled across the puddles in red and yellow streaks. I pushed through the glass door, a bell chimed, and approached the counter. "A carton of Marlboros, please." The clerk studied me for a moment, turned and scanned the row of cigarette cartons behind him. 617, he said. I dug into my pocket and pulled out a 5 wrapped around a 1. A handwritten sign on the counter read, "Exact change only," so I counted out 17 more cents and slid it across. Outside, the rain was letting up. I tore into the carton, pulled out a pack, worked through the cellophane, and flipped the top. I stepped into the cone of a street light, lit a cigarette, and took it in. The smoke tasted good, relaxing. I felt a sigh of relief. Then I saw the red color. 7 figures laid prostrate, belly swollen, and still growing. Red warehouse, floor, trees growing upwards to a ceiling of red distant stars. A low resonant hum was coming from beyond the edge of the universe, getting closer. "Can I bum a cigarette?" someone said behind me. I turned and looked. A pregnant woman stood a few feet away. Red shirt, a gold bow tied up her hair. A little older than me, I guessed. I hadn't heard her approach. I held out the open pack and she fished one out. "That's bad for kids, you know," she said. "Kids?" I coughed. "What makes you say that?" "You look tired, worn out." She touched her belly with her hand, ash dropping from the cigarette. "I have 2 of my own and a 3rd on the way. My husband hates it when I smoke, so I have to sneak off." She glanced at my chest and pointed. "Nice amulet." My hand went to my shirt. The amulet had worked its way out again. It always did. I tucked it back in. "It's nothing. People think it's for a cult, but it's not." "Oh, so you're in a cult," she smiled, teasing. I shifted my weight, looking for a way to change the subject. "Relax, just kidding." She half-punched my arm. "I have to go. Don't head back until you're done smoking, Michael." She dropped the cigarette and slowly waddled off. I stayed a moment, watching her go. Something wasn't right, but I couldn't say what. I walked to the car and then remembered she called me Michael. I didn't tell her my name, and I wasn't from around here. I turned and looked back for her, but the lot was empty. No sign of her anywhere. Rain started up again, heavier, drumming on the hood of the car. Inside, the windshield fogged. I rolled the side window down a crack and wiped the front glass with my palm, then sat in the idling car and waited for it to clear. Rain fell on the roof of the still mobile units. The weatherman had called for clear skies, but he had been wrong for 6 hours. I brought 6 vans and 20 men. All eyes were on a camera feed pointed at a warehouse a mile out. Nobody talked. We'd been on the monitors for hours, our focus growing soft. I'd rather have been inside taking fire than spend another hour in that damn folding chair. "Sir, there was a car in that spot," I heard someone say. "What spot?" I asked. "Next to the vans, sir. Station wagons. A few minutes ago." I watched him reach for the rewind dial, walk it back a few seconds at a time. Empty spot in every frame. "Keep going," I said. "Find it." The Foundation discouraged personal relationships. Teams kept to themselves, kept distance, even from each other. Attrition was high. You could start a week with a full team and be breaking in new faces by Thursday. We had a source inside the warehouse, someone who decided to flip. It started with the local cops, got passed to the FBI, and eventually landed with us. What brought the Foundation in was what the source said was inside. A death cult. Could be something, could be nothing. Everyone agreed. Let's not find out the hard way. Send in the Foundation. The source said the cult moved frequently, but never together. No member knew where the others were. But the source made a promise. When the time came, they could get everyone into the same place at once. And this was the time. All we had to do was wait for the signal. On the monitor, a figure emerged from the shadow of the warehouse, paused at the edge of the dark, then stepped into the cone of a streetlight. Everyone inside the van went quiet. Wait for the signal, I said. The grainy feed showed the figure reaching for something in their hands. A match flared, and a cigarette was lit. Everyone, we're go. I came down the hill carefully, both hands on the wheel, wipers fighting the heavy rain. 1 mile out from the warehouse, in the rearview mirror, I saw lights, red and blue police lights strobing off the wet road. I pulled off into a dark business lot and killed my headlights. A cruiser came over the hill behind me and blew past. Several unmarked black vans followed close. I reached down to the floor of the car, lifted a CB scanner, and plugged it into the cigarette lighter. Switched on. I heard static first, as it looked for a signal. Then a voice came through. We're moving inside. I held my breath, finger ready on the dial. There were a dozen warehouses down here. Maybe we weren't being raided. Our vans came down the hill as the police cruiser went in first. The street had already been quietly evacuated. No civilians, no witnesses. Whatever was about to happen, there would be as few people watching as possible. While the cops set up a perimeter outside, we booted the side door. We're moving inside, I ordered. It was near dark inside. Concrete floors, the smell of wax and musk, and something old. Flashlight beams cut through dust in the air, catching on concrete pillars and empty boxes. First team spread out along the main floor, black uniforms, heavier than standard issue. No chatter over comms. We knew the layout. We spread out without signaling. I took 3 men with me to the second floor. Even with masks on, the smell up there was overwhelming. Sulfur, decomposition. Down the hallway we opened and cleared each room. Offices, meeting rooms. At the end of the hall, one door stood wide open. Candlelight moved inside. We moved single file to the doorway, pressing against the wall. Anyone inside, make yourself known, I yelled. Silence. I said it again, but there was no response. I swept my flashlight inside across the room. Candles, paper with writing in everywhere, symbols drawn on the walls and something dark and dried. And at the far end of the room, kneeling on the bare concrete floor, a man. Hands up now, I commanded. Nothing. A full minute passed. I waited for movement. That didn't come. I found the light switch and flipped it on. The man was old, bearded. He was kneeling with his face tilted toward the ceiling in an expression of pure transported ecstasy. His robes were silked through with blood. His stomach was grotesquely distended, not with fat or illness, but with purpose. It was as if he had spent his last moments trying to reach inside himself and pull something out. He had not been dead long. I stood in the doorway for a moment, then keyed my radio and told them to bring up the containment unit. Several minutes passed before the CB scanners came back to life. Report. Hammer down, sir. We have got them in custody. Bringing them out. I stared at the windshield, trying to look out, wiping the fog away. The warehouse was too far to see anything. The CP scanner spoke again. Abyss gazers, we found the hostages. The girls are in the back room. The amulet burned against my chest, and I had a vision. White concrete floors, a maze of hallways, windowless red steel doors with numbers I couldn't quite read. Muffled sounds came from behind them, trapped, cries, and banging. I could feel the suffering. Then the vision flickered and went out. I turned the car key and put it in reverse, pulled out of the lot, and headed back toward the city. I drove, not toward anything, just away, out of the orbit of those blue and red lights. The CB chatter faded to logistics and call signs, all of it about the girls. No APBs went out for my car or for me. I spotted the marquee for a drive-in theater a few miles up the road. The Evil Dead was playing. It would be perfect. Dark, full of cars, full of people sitting quietly in the privacy of their own vehicles. I paid at the booth and drove the rows until I found a spot in the middle. I ignored the movie but rolled down the window anyway to hang the speaker. In the dark, I listened to the CB scanner in my lap. Walking across the warehouse floor, I removed my headgear and felt slightly more at ease. Reports came through on the radio as I moved. 3 women in torn robes were being walked toward the vans outside. I made a mental note to pull all team footage for review. The back section of the warehouse had been set up as living quarters. Spartan, institutional, not much different from a shelter. We found the girls there, 7 of them, sitting against the far wall on plain mats, each in the mid-stage of pregnancy. Their eyes were fixed on a figure sitting before them. Dr. Montauk. You're safe now, he was saying. We're here to help you. All of you. But none of them responded. Even with his best smile, Montauk was a difficult man to look at directly. Flat black eyes, pale skin, teeth slightly too large for his mouth. He always wore his lab coat. Always. The girls had pressed close together as we entered, which was understandable. Being taken in by the Foundation was not the same thing as being rescued. An agent stepped in beside me and waited. Report. All suspects are in custody, sir. Police are standing by for instructions. Tell them to stay put. I watched him go, then crossed the room to Montauk. He stood as I approached and gave me the smile, the wide, easy one. It was the same smile a shark makes as it's coming up for a bite. I steered him toward a corner. We found some of the cult's documents, I said, keeping my voice pleasant. Symbols, fragments, nothing that makes immediate sense. I thought you'd want to take a look. Of course, he smiled. I watched Montauk go as another agent approached. Sir, we have a problem. What? We can't find the informant. After the movie ended, I found a motel 2 towns over and took a room. Last of my cash, and I didn't care. I needed 4 walls, a television, and some time to think. I checked the locks twice, looked through the shades at the parking lot, and turned on the TV set. The news led with a story of the warehouse. Police raid satanic sex cult. Save 7. I sat on the edge of the bed and watched a reporter interview a man outside the warehouse in the rain. We received a tip about the location of a cult and members being held hostage. As the group operated across multiple states, we will be taking over the handling of the case. Do you believe there are other suspects at large? The reporter asked. The man paused for a few seconds, and then he said, Not at this time. I turned off the TV and sat in the dark. How had I ended up here? A classified ad in the back pages of a free weekly. Odd jobs, must-have car, room and board available. Jobless, I was about to lose my apartment. I never spoke to anyone but 2 older women. I never knew what went on. Then a month ago they brought me to meet someone they called the leader. He was smaller than I expected and older. He looked at the amulet the whole time before he ever looked at me. Just sat there, studying it. I found it, he said finally. Or it found me. His finger hovered near the amulet, not quite touching. When I first put it on, a great being revealed himself to me. The Scarlet King. That's when I knew it was a cult. I thought about knocking him over and making a run for it. Instead, I asked what he wanted from me. The doctor says I have stomach cancer, he began. 2 months to live. He looked back to the amulet, like a man getting ready to say goodbye. I had a vision a few days ago, and in that vision, I saw you wearing it. I started to say something, but he raised a hand. Just wear it, Michael. You will understand. I should have run. I lay back on the bed, my jacket still on, and looked at the amulet. 1 month of visions I couldn't hold on to, just the sensation of them, red and vast and watching. I wanted to remove the amulet, get rid of it, but something stopped me. I was asleep before I could fight it. In the dream, I saw the red color, total, absolute, filled everything. Something shifted in the dark, something immense and patient that had been waiting for a very, very long time. 7 eyes opened and looked directly at me.